Hey, what's going on guys, it's Carmelo here, and welcome back to another video. Last year, there were a few surprising teams, both good and bad. Nobody expected the Raptors to be better than the year before, the 76ers fell short of people's regular season expectations, Damian Lillard and the Trailblazers were able to find their way into the playoffs, and lastly, the Miami Heat shocked the world by first, making it to a high seed in the East. Then they swept the Pacers, who were expected to at least make a small run. Then they destroyed Bucks fans' championship hopes in 5 games, and then they had a series with the Celtics and pulled through. And crazy enough, the Miami Heat were in the finals, and that leads us to this season. So I feel like anybody who has had their eyes on the NBA season thus far has seen the Miami have been struggling, to say the least. They currently sit at the 9th seed in the East, just above the Hawks and just a few good games behind the New York Knicks. Now, this usually never happens to teams coming off of a finals berth, but it did for the Heat. And we're going to figure out why. So, the word fluke has been thrown around in the same sentences as the Miami Heat ever since the Heat's rocky start to the season, and it seems like over the course of a month, the world has just forgot about the Miami Heat's huge year last year, to the point where from an outsider's view, you'd believe the Heat were just your average 8th seed team. But obviously, they weren't. So, to find out that if the Heat were a fluke, first we need to find out what a fluke is. According to Google, a fluke is an unexpected stroke of good luck. And I can tell you that the Heat season last year was certainly not just good luck. Bam Adebayo showed that he's one of the most impactful centers in the league, and Jimmy Butler's leadership skills should have gave him Teammate of the Year honors, if anybody still really cares about that award. And anyways, Goran Dragic was up there in 6th Man of the Year, and they got a stud in the draft with Kendrick Nunn. So in short, the Heat were not a fluke, and here's why. There's been a handful of teams, if not more, affected by COVID this season. No matter if they had it or not, with the league's new health and safety protocols, it has affected a lot of players around the league. This is also why I believe the Wizards have been so bad this season, but that's besides the point. The Heat have also been devastated by injuries, and as we know, a lot of people trying to start arguments on social media don't include the context in arguments. And I believe bringing these things up aren't just excuses, I believe it's just raw context. As we know, Florida has been a hotspot for COVID, and this could have had something to do with, the amount of cases, whether direct or indirect, in the Miami Heat organization. And for the injuries, on the other hand, I have a pretty sound explanation. The Heat and the Lakers had the shortest offseason out of all 30 teams, being only about 2 months. This compares to the usual 120-day offseason by being only a fraction of it. And as we know, a lot of players on the Heat were banged up and fighting nagging injuries just to get through the finals. So, both of these things kind of go hand in hand. The players who have missed the most time, crazy enough, are the Heat's publicly recognized quote-unquote best players. This being firstly, Jimmy Butler, who missed 12 games with COVID. He actually lost 12 pounds, which is no way that can be good. Next, Bam Adebayo missed a pair of games. Tyler Hero missed 7 games with a mix of neck strains and COVID protocols. Goran Dragic missed a few games due to ankle sprains and stuff like that. Kendrick Nunn missed 8 games with safety protocols. And Myers Leonard, who just got a huge load of money this offseason, is out for the season because shoulder surgery he had. And, with teams, all these players out can lead to a whole sort of on-the-court chemistry issues just because players can't work together with the new guys. He had a few pickups this offseason. And with all the main contributors on this team being out, it's messed up the on-court contribution from new pickups for this team. And I'm not too sure if Goran Dragic's foot injury is still affecting him, but that could also be an issue. Jimmy Butler and LeBron have a similar attribute that I think puts Jimmy Butler at the top of the league, and the attribute is consistency. Jimmy Butler is one of the most consistently good players, no matter if he just came back from losing 13 pounds or if he has a small minor injury. The same thing somewhat goes with Bam Adebayo, but on a much smaller scale, and this mixes up some of the young players' inconsistencies like Tyler Hero, Kendrick Nunn, Precious Achiuwa. I believe the younger players can't shake off and play through an injury the same way that the vets on this team can. I know Bam's not a vet, but I feel like you know what I mean. And all this can contribute to a bad start to the season. Now, I want to go over if the bubble was a factor in the Heat's success last season. So, if we think back to the bubble, we can remember all the strange things that happened. Things that almost didn't seem possible in regards to some players and teams. Firstly, we saw the Phoenix Suns go 8-0 in the seeding games. The Suns were given what I believe was a 1% chance to make it to the play-in game, and although that they didn't do that, an 8-0 record is literally the best they could do given this situation. Nextly, and what I and many people would consider the weirdest part of the bubble, is TJ Warren's Jeremy Lin-esque performances. Honestly, even better when you take in the point totals. He dropped 40 points, 50 points. I want to say 60, but I don't think it was 60. Dame also performed out of his element and took the Blazers to the playoffs with CJ and improved Gary Trent Jr. And one of the weirdest things was definitely the Wizards. You know, they left with a worse seed than when they came. They actually went behind the Charlotte Hornets, opposed to being in front of them. So technically, the Charlotte Hornets were closer to playoffs than the Wizards were. But obviously, the most unexpected thing was the thing this video is all about, and that's the Heat's run to the NBA Finals. So basically, we can see with all these things that they're all obviously strange and out of the ordinary in regards to the teams and players, but a fluke is a streak of good luck. I don't think any of this was good luck. I think these things, other than the Wizards, shows who was prepared for the restart and who was not. The Suns were clearly in their bag when teams like the Wizards did not have the players who were needed to complete a run like the Suns, and we know the Heat are a hard-working team. They were the most prepared for the bubble out of probably any team there, and that's why they were a surprise in the regular season, because they could simply outwork any matchup on any night. This obviously was the case against the Pacers. Also, Domantas Sabonis didn't play. I think we all know that the outcome of the series would have been the exact same. Funny enough, for my predictions for the playoffs in the bubble, I had a 7-game series between the Pacers and Heat, but let's be honest, I was very wrong. But the Bucks were a favorable matchup for the Heat, and then they simply outworked the Celtics. Now, obviously, the Lakers were a good veteran team of players who knew how to stay ready, so that didn't go too well, but overall, yes, I think the bubble was a favorable environment for the Heat, but their hard work completed the run to the finals. So, with the Heat's horrible start this season, everybody's wondering if the Heat season is salvageable. And let's be honest, if you don't think the Heat season is salvageable, you gotta watch more basketball, or you just gotta learn about more basketball, but if you're here to get educated, it's very much so salvageable. We went over the injury issues and COVID-related issues earlier in this video, and this has stopped them from building solid team chemistry over the start of the season, and Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo should now be consistently in the rotation. This, as well as Kendrick Nunn, they can now start to build their team chemistry up with some of the new players and get their season back on track. So, to answer the question, yes, the Heat season is very much salvageable, but with the East being so stacked this season, their seeding might be just a little bit off. So, now that we know everything about the Heat season last year, as well as their start to this season, we can make a roadmap of predictions for the rest of the Heat season. COVID affected the Heat this year, as well as injuries. The Heat were very prepared for the bubble. They also worked harder than any other team in the league to get there. This showed them that they couldn't give up. They had some favorable matchups, and they outworked the Celtics to get to the NBA Finals. And even though they lost to the Lakers in the NBA Finals, I don't think anybody will consider the Heat season last year as a negative. And overall, this season, the Heat will be okay. Probably not as good as last year though, as I said. And anyways, that's going to end off the video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and make sure to hit that sub button, hit the like button as well, as it really helps with the YouTube algorithm. Anyways guys, I'm out.